I'm gonna have to make kind of a impromptu quick video here with everything going on. I made one the other day more or less saying as soon as there's light at the end of the tunnel, it's like fate. They just have to ratchet it all up again. Well, I was talking about the mass shootings and all this other stuff going on, and now there's just, if you turn the news on, you get bombarded with all these things are going to push through gun laws and then executive orders and blah, blah, blah. All right, so let's be rational and look at the whole situation. We all know there are a lot of things that an awful lot of people don't agree with been going on the past year and especially now. Um, Questions about politics, elections, everything all together. So even last year before things changed, um, there were a lot of these bills put up that basically got bounced out. A lot of them dealt with gun laws, background checks, banning stuff, all this other stuff. And it covers both so-called, and I'm going to use this term because that is the term the news is, assault weapons. Assault weapons, high-capacity magazines, polymer 80s or 80% kits, and background checks, and the infamous gun show loophole, okay, which all of these terms basically add up to nothing, okay. What the problem is first of all, it's all psychological. There's a trigger and a reaction to emotions in psychology. Okay. Back in the old days, back in the early 90s when they had that Compton shooting, this is where this lunatic went with a Chinese AK-47 or AK-47, Arabic stuff on him, went and gunned down a bunch of children on a school bus. Okay. This is when they enacted, I believe it's the criminal, I forget the official title of this bill, but basically banned anything that had a high capacity magazine, flash hider, folding stock, all this weird crap, which in actuality is pretty much meaningless. It's all psychological, it's all nonsense, and people have argued the point. Look at the Boston Marathon. They didn't even use a gun. They got more people with a pressure cooker full of explosives than anything else. So banning firearms is not going to stop violence. Okay, plain and simple. Trying to push the bans that these people are proposing, okay, first of all, they've tried several times to bring this so-called high-capacity assault weapons ban back into place, and it has failed. The one thing that everyone forgets and nobody states, okay, and this is why they screw with the elections, all right, is when they passed that bill, there was a midterm election that come up, and everybody that backed that bill in Congress and the Senate was voted out of office. And they did not expect this. They did not see this coming, the politicians and the people who control stuff. And it took them by surprise. Because the NRA went in their magazine and published how everybody voted. Okay? Next thing you know, Congress passed a law stating you cannot put for public circulation or in a magazine the results on how they vote. There's actually a law that doesn't allow that. The individual must request the information. It can't just be freely published or put out there for anyone to see. Okay, that's something else I think you guys didn't know. So this is why the first step is to screw with the voting process. Once you control or eliminate what they were proposing in that bill, fortunately I don't believe it passed. It didn't pass in the House. You could forget it at that point. They got it in the bag. Then they're going to do whatever the hell they want because your free election system is gone. So that was a nasty bill. But I don't think it passed. So now they failed with this. So now they got to go to plan B, which is ratchet up the mass shootings and just bombard people in this. And don't get me wrong, it's horrible, okay? Because the truth of the matter is when people go, well, what kind of gun do you carry and all this other stuff, that doesn't matter if I'm sitting at a restaurant with my wife on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon eating something and in a conversation or out with friends sitting somewhere in a bar or a restaurant and occupied, and if somebody barges into that place and just starts spraying bullets all over, killing everyone, okay, this is where fate has turned its back on you. There ain't nothing you can do, and it doesn't matter what kind of gun you carry or what you're prepared or whatever. When somebody has, and that's why it's called terrorism, okay, because you don't expect it, okay, you're not expecting it. You're expecting that you're in a restaurant, one that you go to and frequent all the time, been in there all, for years, and nothing bad has ever happened, and all of a sudden one day everything goes to hell. Okay? It is the motivation of the people. Obviously this person in the last thing, a lot of these people were mentally unstable. And this country has a serious problem with identifying or dealing with people with psychological problems. And there are more of them. Our society creates this. The way we live, the way things are done with the internet and cell phones and all this other stuff is the way, and the more people you have. Okay? That's another factor. The population is huge. All right? So it's all percentages. The more people there are, the more crazy people there are. It's just a simple fact. Okay? First thing to do is not to panic. Now I know they're talking the ban. I don't believe the ban will come back because realistically, and I know people are going to argue this point, realistically, if you're living here in the United States after what's happened in the past year and the past 10 years before it, if you don't own a firearm, then you've been living under a rock or in a cave or something for the past 15, 20 years. Okay, I think just about everyone in the country has bought something here in the past year, the ones that don't have. So, in other words, to say you want to ban this, control it, and everything, but the reaction of the populace is the exact opposite. The more they say they're going to ban and outlaw and restrict, the more people buy guns and ammunition. So that goes to show you something ain't right here. And what it is, it's fear and mistrust. Okay? Everyone fears the government. They don't trust the government. They know that they're being lied to about everything. Okay? And you see all these weird tricks. Okay, going back to the contagion. Alright? Well, they did their thing. They did all this. Now they're inoculating the hell out of everyone. Which, by the way, I'm not getting inoculated. I get asked all the time when I go to the dentist and that. I just say no. Okay? And I look at them and they shut the fuck up and just keep going about working on my teeth or whatever. So what they did is as this was fading out, they come back with the second round. And even they were mentioning a week or so ago, this is the strange thing, that there's a third strain that has showed up here in North Carolina. Okay? And all of a sudden now, today, they're saying they're lifting the restrictions to where bars can open past 11. You can have full capacity, and certain restaurants and bars can have full capacity. Okay, now they're starting to ease off. So obviously this other trick of crushing people, see, because it's all tied in together. Okay, I know everyone's looking and getting upset about the gun restrictions, gun laws, but it's all tied in together. So they tried this, you know, I don't want to mention it to have the video gigged, but they tried the third strain to like, and it's not working. So this isn't working. They tried to do this to where they're going to put an end to free elections. It's not working. That didn't work. So now we go back. We're going to go gun control and mass shooting here, mass shooting here. And actually, these last two, the people, the one guy said that he whacked everybody in Florida in the massage parlor because of temptation of perversion. Okay, so it's like the guy that went and shot the gay bar up. Okay, they found out that he was on one of the online sites looking for dates with men, and something short-circuited in his brain and he went down there. Must be he liked going there, so he went and shot up the place. Okay. It's not right, and the person should be confined to some sort of an institution before this happens. Okay, but you can never tell when people are going to break, snap, or what they're hiding or whatever. It's just a part of life. Like I said, sitting in a restaurant, somebody walks in, anyone, you can have 4 guns on you. Okay, if you're sitting there eating and someone just starts randomly shooting and you catch a bullet, there really ain't a whole lot you can do to prepare yourself for that. Okay, and this is the factor that scares the hell out of people. It makes people feel even more uncomfortable and more uneasy about their everyday life. So when you pressure people, on top of that, taxes, raising gas, it just weakens them to the point that they will agree to anything or try to say, hey, we need to do something. What we have to do is, number one, the first thing to do is just stay calm. Okay, like I said, it's some scary stuff going on. Believe me, it makes me nervous. But they didn't do the election thing. I doubt very much they're going to pass any kind of huge restrictive gun laws or bans because it's pointless. Anyone who is consciously thinking or aware of the situation, they have sold so many of the types of guns they're trying to ban in the past 15 years that it is impossible. I went to the gun show, the Polymer 80 kits. There was a guy, he had to have 8-10 tables with barrels, slides, parts, pieces, the Polymer 80 kits, any description you can want. He had to have hundreds of them. Okay, and that's just one dealer in one local show. How many people like this are around the country? Hundreds and hundreds of them. And none of it is regulated or traced. So there's no way in hell, even if they ban or outlaw it, how are they going to go find all this crap? They're not. So here's the warning. Much like where they're going to have a law requiring that everyone must do a background check. Now, we all know, I don't know how your state laws are, but here, if you want to be 100% legal, you go somewhere you want to sell, say, an old shotgun, an old single-barrel shotgun, okay? You fill out what people call the bill of sale, all right? And basically what it is, you get 2 copies of it. One side I sign it, put my driver's license, name, address, phone number, and I sign a statement saying that, to my knowledge, this gun is not stolen. Okay, and I'm the legal owner. And down there, the person buying the gun fills out the information and signs a statement saying, I am not a convicted felon and I'm not in any violation of the law to purchase this gun. Okay, so each of you get a copy of it. Now, the only thing that can go wrong in this situation, 2 things. One, I'm selling a gun, whether I know it or not, that has been stolen. The serial numbers have been recorded in the national database of stolen weapons. Okay, which any police station accesses that in a minute. Okay, now you got a problem. on the other end, selling the gun. If the person is a convicted felon or violated the laws, I think domestic violence or something, they cannot own or purchase a firearm. If they're lying to you, okay, supposedly this paper covers your ass. It would kind of be a very rare instance for something like this to happen, but you never know, okay? Now, on the other hand, will the government, the ATF, and these people set you up in a sting operation? That has happened. I've heard of something happened here a few years ago, and basically what it was, and again, the flea markets, open air markets are like selling outside the gun show, which in this state they've outlawed it. You cannot make transactions in the parking lot or the promoter will ban you for good. Okay? What you used to go to shows, there were tons of people outside trying to sell stuff in the parking lot. Well, that's against the law, and they actually had police officers out there to make sure that didn't happen. So that's stopped. But what they will do is say at the flea market, you're there, and it doesn't matter what, you know, if you got an AR-15, guess what? You're going to get a lot of people looking at it, a lot of offers. Well, what they do is they send, or the sheriff will do this every now and again to stop this. In this state, to sell a handgun, okay, you fill out the bill of sale, but the individual must produce a background check pistol purchasing permit or have a concealed carry permit, which there's a space for you to write his number down. Okay? So if he has concealed carry in North Carolina, it's an instant background check, you write that down. Okay? If you forego this procedure, the local law enforcement or the ATF will go and have, and they have a whole bunch of these people at their disposal, someone who is a convicted felon. They will give them the money to go buy the gun. The individual will go there and say, hey, I want to buy this gun, buy it from you, this and that. Probably they're videotaping the whole damn thing. And then he wanders off, and next thing you know, you're under arrest. The ATF will raid your home, and since you sold a firearm to a convicted felon, they will search your house and confiscate every gun in there. You just lose them all. They're gone. They're gone. You're probably never going to see them again. And you're looking at 10 years in a state prison or federal prison. I can't remember. But yes, and I've heard of this happening to people. I myself, with the 80%, that's why I kind of backed off. I constantly get emails and offers, machine these out for me, and they're willing to pay me double what the raw lower cost. And I'm like, I can't do that because I know that is a violation of the law. Okay? And when somebody's persistent about it, it makes me suspicious that if it's not a setup. So, what will happen? Even if they pass the laws, okay? First of all, nobody will show up thinking that you bought a polymer 80 kit so many years ago and whether you completed it or not. They're not going to show up to your house looking for the kit. Okay? You just tell them, I tried it, it come loose in a vise, I broke it and threw it away. Alright? They're not going to do that. What they will do is if you ever built a gun, one of them kits, and tried breaking the law and selling it, then they're going to come down hard on you. If they catch you selling one of them kit-built guns, you're going to be in a world of shit. Okay? Same with the background checks. There's no way for them to actually enforce this law. It's impossible. Okay? It's impossible for them to follow and track every shotgun, rifle, pistol, whatever. Okay? Because criminals are doing this and selling stolen guns and all kinds of guns constantly. Okay, these people are in violation of every law, and this goes on every day in this country. Okay? So, the thing to be warned is if any of this weird stuff, or now he's threatening if these bills don't pass, which I doubt they will, he's going to put an executive order in place. Exactly what, nobody knows, or how it'll work. But again, it's something that reasonably is unenforceable. Okay, New York State did it, where if you had an AR-15 with a flash suppressor and all this other stuff, or any type of gun that fell into this class, you were supposed to go after they passed the law and register this weapon with the state, just like in New Jersey, where you can own it, they won't take it from you, but you can't sell it, you can't leave it or anything, and I guess when you die, the gun must be turned in and destroyed, or some weird crap like that. And I went back home and visited some people, and there was he is an active duty police officer, okay, and he owns one himself, and he said nobody. He goes, we know the guns are out there, but he goes, nobody has come in and registered the weapon. Okay, now probably nothing would happen to you in normal terms. Because how do they know whether you registered it or not if you take it out on the range and shoot it? Until you commit a crime or something happens to where they come to your house, which domestic violence is the number one thing. That was a bad law. That's where they're going to get you, is something, domestic violence. You start raising holy hell with the family and the police show up and they start searching the house, they find that gun. Now they found that you did not register it, so now you're in violation of another law. Okay, this is how it's all going to work if these things pass. So this is where you have to be careful. And yes, I would say any of these bills, take the time to, they used to let you email your representatives, they don't do it. Email them, call them, sit down and just write a letter to them and mail it to them the old-fashioned way is probably the best thing to do. But tell your local representative, you know, you're against these things, you don't believe it'll help, and it will change your decision when the midterm elections come up. Okay? This midterm election is going to be a tricky one, because it's going to be probably a make or break, so prepare for that. Well, that's my thoughts on it. Don't flip out. My wife was going berserk between the infections disease thing and this now, and all upset, and it's just, you know, because it is all tied in together, all of it. It's a grab for power and control, and there is a global push, to disarm the civilian populace. Okay, that's the key thing. This is global. So the people who supposedly are representing us as our elected officials are being influenced by forces outside of this country to come in line for a global world government. So, right there and then, they are not putting the United States people first. They are putting their own interest in terms of power and money. Okay, and that's what the whole story is. All right, thanks and stay tuned.